Welcome back to Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for Stage 2 or Stage 2A, however you like to see it, of the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift from Dordrecht to Rotterdam. We're doing the recap on YouTube straight after the stage, but we'll wrap this into one podcast after the TT this afternoon for podcast players. So we're just doing it a little bit differently. It's the first time we've ever had a double stage like this that we've had to cover. Sometimes they have it in like Sibiu Tour or something, but
yeah,
never in a big stage like this.
Watersley Ladies Tour, I think, has one as well. I'm not sure about it, but I actually kind of like it. It's a weird situation, but we've got the sprint in the morning. It makes the sprint stage shorter, which means you get to the sprint faster. And then you still have a time trial to eat as dessert in the afternoon. I kind of like it. It's a bit more administration to get the podcast recorded twice, but I'm not complaining too much. I'm enjoying it, to be honest.
Yeah, and it makes us get up and moving. So that's not bad either. What I do,
It's 11,
I watch.
dude.
No, well, I woke up obviously before, but yeah, I watched Anthony Bourdain's Iran episode. Actually, it was on YouTube. Got recommended. I
Who's
just sat
that?
there. Anyway,
Am I stupid in asking that?
Not really. I mean, I think it depends what media you consume. I like food, so I know who Anthony Bourdain is. Anyway, from Dordrecht to Rotterdam, again into the... Luke will correct me if I'm wrong, he's a port specialist, but I believe Rotterdam is has the largest port in Europe, and we don't have crosswinds. No,
I'm defending Antwerp here.
Antwerp's definitely not bigger than Rotterdam. No chance, bro. I think Antwerp's second biggest in Europe.
Yeah, probably.
I ran into some people from Antwerp actually in Girona. And I was like, "Do you know Victor Campenaerts?" They're like, "Yeah." So that was our interaction.
You got to see people from Antwerp in a different way as other people from Belgium. They consider us
Dutch.
the parking spot.
They sounded Dutch.
They consider us the parking spot, which I think that's just discrimination to every other Belgian outside of Antwerp, in my opinion.
Yeah. But today's stage, 69 kilometers, one of the shortest stages we've ever covered. Most of it below sea level, in fact. Going over many bridges, no cure endpoints whatsoever. So Tonetti will be keeping that jersey into the TT and indeed into the stage 4 tomorrow. So it's going to be a sprint. And after Lorena Wiebes' loss yesterday, SD Works Pro Time would be wanting to come back with a vengeance. They'd be wanting to win at least one of these two opening sprints because, in my opinion, the latter stages are very difficult. And to be honest, I don't really see... I'm going to see it as quite difficult for her to get around them. So it was going to be a sprint, early start. I presume the riders had to get up at 6 or 5 in the morning, actually, because they got to eat breakfast before, and then they can't, I know it's a short stage, but they can't just, they have to fuel up because they got a TT later in the day as well. So the favourite was Wiebes, but could Charlotte Kool, win the stage, but also take enough bonus second time because she could keep yellow after the TT this afternoon.
But going into the stage, the way I saw the differences between Lorena Wiebes and Charlotte Kool was Lorena Wiebes is the best sprinter in the world, and last year UAE Tour was the moment where they were very close to the point that if anything went wrong for Wiebes, whether it was positioning or at the front too early, Charlotte Kool could beat her. And I hadn't seen that Charlotte Kool since that UAE Tour, really. I felt like that difference became a bit larger until maybe yesterday, maybe today. And yesterday, obviously, Wiebes had the mechanical, and as a consequence, well, she couldn't compete in the sprint. So as a conclusion, it's okay. Kool won because Wiebes had the mechanical, but would today disprove that or not? We'd see. So it's a shorter sprint stage, means that it's more of a pure sprint stage, but it also means that it's much easier to control. So yesterday, there was already no breakaway winning, so today there wasn't going to be a breakaway winning either. There was an attack by, I think, Aldri de Keersmaker from Belgium.
Lotto Destiny.
From Lotto Destiny. Basically the Belgian national team.
Same thing, yeah.
But she was... I feel like it's still the Olympics in my head. But she was in the breakaway. There's nothing to gain in the breakaway outside of, like, exposure. So, hey, she eventually got caught. I do have to say there was another crash, a few crashes in today's stage. Most notably, Grace Brown crashed for the second time in 2 days. She was in a crash yesterday as well. But In today's stage, I'm not sure the crash really impacted her too much. I felt like the bike took the impact and not necessarily her body. So I don't know. Yesterday's crash might impact today's time trial though. So I'm curious. Hopefully she can go all out in the time trial without too many worries. But is it weird to say that this directly brings us to the sprint because nothing else happened?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you just know there's going to be no breakaway at all with a chance to win with all these teams wanting to control. It's not just, it's like X, EF, DSM, they also want to sprint. So we're going to have a sprint. And yeah, it's a pretty big straight road until like 3 kilometers to go. And then it's actually quite technical the last 3 kilometers with some very fast right-handers. And what we saw yesterday was the SD Works have the strongest train. Barbieri and Cole plus Georgie and Francisco Koch is actually a really good train in itself. But they get a bit jumbled up today. X have a decent train. EF Oatley Cannondale with Jackson also doing like the 3Ks to 1.5Ks to go is also a good train. And this really felt like a proper big bunch sprint to me, to be honest. Like, it was hectic. And yeah, with 5Ks to go, we see Visma actually doing what they didn't do yesterday. They've picked the right-hand side as the riders look at it, lining up. I don't know if it was with Henderson or Sophie van Beersvoort, trying to put, because Vos yesterday had to freelance the whole way. On the other side, the same side of the road they had yesterday, SD Works, and they're rotating. They rotate Bredevold and Vollering. And then in the middle, you've got Georgie, Cole, and you can see her in the yellow jersey. But then some crashes start to happen in the last 5Ks to go, just like yesterday, Benji.
Yes, and one of the riders that was also impacted by a crash was Rose McGannon in one of the later crashes, so she wouldn't be sprinting in today's stage either. But honestly, looking at the SD Works train, the order of it, I want to talk about that for a second. Because is it me or do Bredewold and Blancavage kind of switch positions a few times between 7 and 3 kilometers to go?
Yeah.
Because I feel like at one point Blancavage at the front, Bredewold first, then Blancavage, and then back to Bredewold going into the last 1.5 kilometers.
Yeah, they keep switching, and even if and that basically takes us all the way through the 1K to go banner. The difference being today, Vos, she keeps the Vila Vibers, the Vila Vibers, and through some fast right-handers. But that's kind of a problem for Charlotte Cole because Vos, she just cannot beat Vibers or Cole in a flat sprint like this. So it's Cole kind of has to do her own sprint in that situation. When we look at if you look at the front on at 800 meters to go, it's Vash on the front, in front of Bredevold, and then Vollering. And then Gorishi gets on the radio. So with 800 to go, there's 3 SD Works riders ahead of the final lead-up woman, Gorishi, which is just like yesterday's too many. And X come fast and actually get their front wheel ahead of Bredevold. So again, I think SD Works, maybe they're not changing quick enough in the end. It doesn't really matter. Yeah.
What's confusing to me is we're saying they've got too many riders in the last kilometer, 800 meters. But then you look at how the race continues. Yes, you could deduce from the fact that X can get over them that they don't switch fast enough to the next rider. But then eventually going a bit further into the last 400, 300 meters, we get Guarishi doing a lead out. Wiebes is on the wheel, and it's honestly looking like a perfect lead out at the moment. But then it looks like Wiebes is at the front too early. And if they have too many riders, that should not be happening.
Well, the thing is, they were kind of dead. So, like 800 to go, Vash pulls off when Gorishi says change. But the problem is she was on the front too long. And so then Bredevold she does a very short pull, and she was already pulling before. Bredevold pulls for like 7 seconds, 6 seconds, maybe less. And then it's Vollering Gorishi. And Vollering goes, and she does a really, really good job again. I think the mistake here is Gorishi. I think Gorishi goes too early because Vollering was still sprinting, and there's no one even overlapping Gorishi. Georgie's finished, 400 to go. Vos is in the wheel of Vibers. She's fought off, who's the Ceratizit rider? Zolta. Cole is in the wheel of Barbieri with Georgie in front. Guarishi just jumps the gun, in my opinion. And no, it's a headwind sprint as well, so you don't want to be on the front too early. I can't. This thing's like 4:50 to go, and she goes past Vollering, who was still at a. She could have left her on there for another 3-4 seconds, which is the difference. 2 seconds is the difference here. And then Guarici sprints, and again, I don't know if she stops pedaling too early or what, but then Vivas does have to jump very early, like you said, Benji, and Vos is basically gapped immediately off the wheel. Cole is able to then get into that slipstream of Vibers and then opens up the space in front of Vos, and Cole comes around Vibers and wins actually pretty comfortably, given that Vibers definitely tried to move into her space a little bit. So I was just dictating, basically looking over at the footage. But yeah, what did you make of that sprint from Cole? Pretty impressive, given that she lost Barbieri and had to just freelance in the last 250, 350.
Yeah, certainly. And based on today, you'd say that they're much closer together than we might have anticipated yesterday. Because Cole just, let's be honest, yes, Wiebes was at the front too early, but she'd still head-to-head beat Wiebes. Yes, she kind of got a bit of a lead out from Wiebes in the last 200 to 100 meters to go. If I had to guess, it's really difficult to see at what moment Wiebes really launches, because from the front end angle, like the meter markers are like cut out of the screen, so I have no clue where she launches, but I'm guessing 250, 225, and that is too early, if it isn't even more. So in an ideal world, you're launching at 150, 125 maybe, and especially in a headwind sprint, because you want that headwind sprint basically means that you want to be in the wind as short as possible, because the rider in your wheel will benefit. So Cole is benefiting from being in that wheel and taking less of that headwind, while Wiebes is taking more of that headwind, if not all of that headwind. So there is a slight advantage in the situation that was created in the last 400, 300 meters for Cole, but you still head-to-head beat Wiebes. So a magnificent victory by Cole, and this is on the level for me as her UAE sprints of 1.5, 2 years ago.
Yeah, really, really impressive. More impressive than yesterday, because Vibes was here.
Yes.
Vibes, okay, we can say left on the front a bit early. It wasn't 20 seconds, it was 15 seconds, which is too long. It's 3-4 seconds, definitely too long, but it's not like she was left on the front with 500. Normally, Vibes can be dropped off here and she just wins anyway. And the real key for the victory for Cole is, if you look at the front on, Barbieri comes out of the wheel of Vibes, and she goes to the open side when Guarici's doing her lead out, and Cole lets her go. She decides to go barrier side. She takes a risk, and this is, I always think about it in horse racing as well. Everyone's like, don't get boxed in, don't get boxed in. It's like, okay, but if you don't go on the barrier side here, if you're Charlotte Cole, if you don't get the lead out from Vibes into the headwind, if you follow Barbieri to the open side, you won't get boxed in, but you'll lose. Like you'll get a very nice second place. Too bad, because if she follows Barbieri, she's left basically to make up 2 bike lengths in the wind to Vibes herself, and she won't have won. But she takes the risk. She goes barrier side. Vos yields the wheel, and she wins. So really, really impressive. And yeah, it was I felt like it was a very, very interesting sprint. It felt like a really big, like a pure bunch sprint to me. And just a lot to talk about.
You just guided us through, what was it, the last 500 meters, 600 meters? But when it comes to Barbieri and Cole, I'm kind of unknown to what happened between 1100 and 600 meters to go, because we had the helicopter view with all the trees on top of it, and I swear they just moved up loads of positions. So I don't know how they did that.
Yeah,
so Barbieri
exactly.
must have done a great lead out there.
There's the trees, there's the bridges, and you're like, where is everybody? Thank God Vos was in the green jersey today, so
we could see her.
Yeah, so you could, because otherwise she just looks like another SD Works ride on the back of the train. So yeah, very, very interesting sprint. Charlotte Cole wins ahead of Vibes, then Marianne Vos third. She basically got the third on positioning, pretty much. Like when the sprint actually happened, you could see the Cole and Vibes were on a different level. Hentala, another good top 5. She's 4th. Balsamo 5th. Barbieri 6th. De Zota 7th. Maggie Holzlister 8th. Martina Alzini on Cofidis 9th. And Puck Peterson Benji 10th. So she's doing it all. GC, Charlotte Cole is on is leading the race now with a 14-second lead ahead of Otasalo and Wiebes, 16 ahead of Vos and Balsamo, and 20 seconds basically ahead of everybody else. I would say now that 20 seconds ahead of the Digets and Browns should be enough for Cole if she does a good TT, but you never know. But that's the biggest buffer she could have hoped for to keep the jersey into tomorrow. Vos goes to 61 points in the green jersey competition, 31 ahead of Wiebes, and 39 behind Cole on 100, but Cole can't climb at all, so it's looking good for Vos because Cole will get dropped tomorrow in the neutral.
But yesterday we already had Sarah Gigante lose some time.
True.
She was caught up behind the crash yesterday, if I recall correctly, and she thought she would have the 5-kilometer rule be applied to her, but apparently not. So she lost 50 seconds or so, 45 seconds.
Yeah, but on that, like Gigante's play, she will not ride in the peloton. It's a big problem. And like, if she wants to be a big GC contender, the biggest thing she needs to fix is that. Like, her watts climbing are excellent. We all know that for a number of years, but she cannot ride in the peloton at the moment.
Even hater behavior.
Yeah.
So
I hope she can fix it.
She's also on 50 seconds. I don't know if that's related to the crash that happened.
No, that was the crash
or
not.
Sure. Brown as well. There's lots of riders that are on like 50, 45 seconds. So I guess we'll come back after the time trial to confirm whether these riders were put in the same time or not.
Yeah, they should all be put on the same time. I would think they just haven't done it yet. So, but yeah, it was pretty much a compact peloton, and when that happened, in terms of abandons, can't see any. So all the riders seem to get through today. I don't know what's going on with Becky Story, the DSM rider. She's a good climber. She seems to be struggling.
Maybe involved in a crash. I don't know.
Yesterday, she also struggling a little bit. Also a note, Riolini and Diagon yesterday, they got a 20-second time penalty for sheltering behind the cars, which, to be honest, is better than not getting back at all. If you need to use the cars, otherwise you're not making it back, it's better to use the cars and get the 20 seconds, especially if you're Riolini, where you're like real small and on the flat, it's not your preferred terrain. But yeah, moving on
Also, I feel like Riolini's mechanical was after that crash, which happened I don't know at what point in the race
bridge.
was still was not late.
It was ages. No. It's like 55k to go or something.
So it's like, yeah, you can risk it by using the car, but I don't see that situation as a situation you can't come back from if you just pull teammates back.
Right.
So I think it's still a mistake from the team if it was like super excessive to do that instead of just pulling riders back.
True. Yeah, there must have been maybe they just were warned and didn't see it. But I agree. It's like you don't need to take the risk if you don't have to. At that point in the race, nothing too much was happening. Tonight's or this afternoon stage again in Rotterdam. They go over some. Yeah, I don't know. It's not that technical.
Not the islands again.
Yeah, I'm not doing the islands discussion again. They head north. They do a 180 around a roundabout, come back, go over a bridge, turn left, where the intermediate time check. Intermediate time check 3.5 k's in. By the time it's on the screen, they'll have finished. Wilhelmina Carter is where, and that's where they go. Take a left. They do a right-left chicane, and then they go over the island in Willemsbruck, which
You're
again
doing the
has
islands again.
Well, after do where they go on the TT, and then they take another couple of 90-degree turns, and then the last left-hand turn to the finish in I don't know where it is. It's on an island sort of thing. And 6Ks long. We both think Diagon and Brown are the favorite. Well, we don't think, they literally are the favorites for the TT to win the stage. Who's in yellow? And who wins? We still nothing's really changed this morning apart from Cole's extra bonies.
I think Cole, it's going to be very close for me whether she can keep the jersey or not. 20 seconds, I think it's on the brink.
It's on the limit. I think she's going to lose it by like 2 seconds or 3 seconds to Diagon. Brown's crashes. I don't know how much they affected her. They don't help. So yeah, I feel like Di gets a good chance.
It's also like a 6 kilometer time trial, so we might see like a surprise winner. It's weird to say, but Wiebes just lost 2 sprints, but she's won time trials of this length before. Even this year at, was it Belwaze Tour or something? Belwaze Belgian Tour or whatever. So it's against worse competition, but it might mean that she can top 5 or top 3 even a time trial like this. But if this podcast is part of the podcasts of tonight, but now live on YouTube, are we basically predicting the winner after the stage has already happened for people on podcast players?
Yeah.
This sounds stupid. And Patrick has dropped out, so I think that's the end with Patrick out.
No, I'm back. They have to listen chronologically, so they're fine. All right, but yeah, that's nothing too much has changed. Charlotte Cole looking good for keeping yellow, or at least she couldn't hope for more bonus time, and we'll see if she can keep that. And we'll be back with our recap of stage 3 in a minute. Until then, ciao.